One of the most anticipated races of every NASCAR season is the night race at Daytona. There's nothing like watching the cars go three wide lap after lap under the lights on the high-banked oval at this racetrack. Many fans would think that the first night race here was on the July 4th weekend. Actually, it wasn't, and it's quite a unique story. I want to take you all back to the 1998 Pepsi 400, the first night race at Daytona. Now, this race is not being run on the traditional 4th of July weekend like previous years, as I just mentioned. This race was postponed to October as wildfires threatened Florida in July. The race was originally sold out for its July date, and this was the first time a summer race at Daytona was sold out, so the anticipation for this race was high. A massive crowd still showed up for the now fall showdown at night, and the fans were excited to get this race underway. Pole sitter Bobby Labonte would lead the field out of turn 4 to begin the night's events. Now for this opening lap, I want you to enjoy the raw sights and sounds, because when people bring up NASCAR's glory days, this is what they mean.
Travel anywhere in the world, and they'll ask you, first question, you say a Winston Cup race, they say, have you won at Daytona?
Strap in, folks. Glad you're with us on TNN Motorsports. Enjoy the evening. Here we go. Good scramble up front. Here goes Jarrett, the winner last week at Talladega with drafting help from Earnhardt. He'll swing to the inside of Bobby Labonte in turn 3.
Jeff Burton had a miserable start there. Jarrett brings him off turn 4, and they head down the front straightaway. He's making his presence known right now, leading in the best place on super speedways.
Coming into the second lap, Dale Jarrett would take the lead, and as mentioned in the broadcast, that was the second consecutive Superspeedway race, as Talladega was the prior week. Quickly, the best at Superspeedways would make a move for the lead, as Dale Earnhardt would take the lead on the backstretch. Most of the opening laps were calm towards the front of the field, but a traffic jam would be in the middle of the pack as drivers would try and position themselves in the best drafting line. Earnhardt would hold the top spot, and then a caution would come out for a quick sprinkle of rain. Luckily, the track would not get soaked, so racing would resume after the quick drizzle. Earnhardt would lead the field to green and continue to click off laps as the rest of the field negotiated for positions. Billy Standridge would go off the pace in turn 3 and retire his car to the garage, finishing in the 43rd position. Steve Park would make an incredible save, but it would cost him most of his track position and he would fall back towards the back of the pack. A dozen cars would break away from the rest of the field and have an incredible 13-second lead over 13th on back. Jeff Gordon would start his march towards the black number 3 by moving to the high line, and a few laps later, a massive crash would occur on the backstretch, taking out a handful of cars. Kevin LePage would get loose and crash in front of the field, taking out Michael Waltrip, Ted Musgrave, Hutch Strickland, and many others. The field would make their way onto pit road, and Rusty Wallace would become the new race leader. Wallace would lead the field to green, and a handful of laps later, Dale Earnhardt would retake the lead, but half a lap later, Dale Jarrett would go back to the top spot. Dale Jarrett would maintain the lead over Jeff Gordon and Dale Earnhardt, picking up right where he left off at Talladega the week prior. With 95 laps to go, Derek Cope would take his car to the apron after brushing the wall coming out of turn 4. Another breakaway with the top cars would happen as they would get single file and pull away from the pack, and then with 79 laps to go, Dale Earnhardt would take an opportunity to pass Dale Jarrett for the lead, bringing Jeff Gordon with him. Now, most of you know this, but I will mention that Dale Earnhardt had won the Daytona 500 this year, and he was looking like he was going to have a season sweep at Daytona up to this point in the race. Under commercial break, Jeff Gordon would take the lead from Earnhardt with some help from a former teammate in Ken Schrader, in the iconic Skull car nonetheless. With 70 to go, some of the leaders would peel off to pit road and take tires and gas, and just look at that pit stop time, almost 20 seconds. It's crazy how that compares to today. Jeremy Mayfield would get off of pit road first out of the cars that pitted under green. A mix-up of strategy between tail end of lead lap cars and the leaders would occur when both Dale Earnhardt and Dale Jarrett decided to stay out, allowing the cars that pitted to unlap themselves with fresh tires. Earnhardt would finally pit, but leaving his pit stall, he would hit a tire that was laying flat on pit road, damaging the front end of his race car. Jeff Gordon would retake the lead after everything cycled out with the green flag pit stops. A single car accident by Dan Pardis would put the race under caution, and Kenny Irwin would make a great move to avoid hitting him. During this caution, the field would come down pit road, but a few cars would stay out. One of these cars was the 28 of Kenny Irwin, who was almost collected in the caution. The intensity would pick up as Ken Schrader would battle for the lead as the rest of the field was in a hornet's nest. Irwin would retain the lead, and Jeff Gordon would march back towards the front, and eventually he would take the lead right back before a caution would come out for yet again another sprinkle of rain. Dale Earnhardt would take his car to pit road for more repairs to try and keep his car competitive, and the race got back underway with the mix-up of lap cars and lead lap cars. Some cars on the tail end of the lead lap took tires, so the strategy mix-up was causing great pack racing with less than 30 laps to go. The leaders would once again go nose to tail with about 20 laps left, but then, just as it seemed to calm down, another multi-car crash would occur with Steve Park, Ricky Rudd, Kenny Irwin, and a lot of others. Chad Little and Kenny Irwin would come together, battling for position. This would take out the 28, who was a strong contender for a win at this point. The race got back underway with 13 laps to go, with Jeff Gordon leading the field, but the rest of the pack was fighting 3 wide for position. Some cars were even diving under the yellow line to pick up spots, which was still legal at this time in the sport. Dale Jarrett would suffer a tough break as his car would get a flat tire, but the other Dale in the field was moving towards the front with his damaged race car. Coming into the final 10 laps, the racing had reached its peak intensity as it was every man for himself, and drivers knew the pay window was open and they were trying to cash in. Just as quickly as the racing got that intense, it would get cooled off as yet another rain shower would occur with 5 laps to go. Thankfully, NASCAR red flagged the race and tried to get the finish of the inaugural night race under green flag conditions. The red flag would last for nearly 40 minutes, but the cars would get back on track and the race would be settled with 3 laps to go. Jeff Gordon would have to fend off Penske teammates Rusty Wallace and Jeremy Mayfield, as well as Mike Skinner. The Labonte brothers would team up in the final laps to make a charge for the win with 2 laps to go. Coming to the white flag, Jeff Gordon had to hold off some hard-charging drivers who were hungry for a win.
Out of turn 4, white flag.
Well, you see Jeremy looking to the inside, couldn't make the move. Skinner looks to the high side right now. They're trying everything. Gordon's running by the mirror right now.
Labonte has caught him, and so has Terry Labonte. Side by side behind Gordon.
Right now they're running side by side. Jeff Gordon saying, I love it. He'll try to run in the middle part of the racetrack so one car does not get a great run down the back straightaway.
They mix it up again behind Gordon. Mayfield. Here comes Bobby Labonte to the outside.
What a move on the high side, making 3 wide into turn 3. Bobby Labonte looked like he has the car to beat.
Bobby Labonte is there. Out of 4, they're coming to the checkers. Trouble in the back of the pack. The lead and the win. Gordon, for the 11th time, he wins. Chad Little taps the wall as he rolls.
Jeff Gordon would hold off a late charge out of Bobby Labonte to win his 11th race of the season and the 40th of his career. An exciting sprint to the finish, but no one can get past the Rainbow Warrior at night's end. Some other notable finishes of the race was Bobby Labonte, who was the pole sitter. He finished in 2nd. Ernie Irvan, who was subbed out for Ricky Craven, finished 8th, but because Ernie Irvan had started the race, he got the finishing position. But Ricky Craven drove this car as there was, like I mentioned, a driver swap early in the race, and Dale Earnhardt would come back from damage to finish 10th. So now I ask you, if this was your first time seeing this race, what are your thoughts on it? For me, I think it had the perfect amount of strategy, carnage, and intensity to be a great race even for today's standards. Let me know down in the comments. I appreciate all of the support, and I will see you guys in the next video.